In the year 3072, Earth was gone. Humans now lived on other planets, inside cold metal colonies under the rule of machines and traders. On a mining planet called Saran 9, life was hard. The sky was always dark. Storms came without warning. People lived underground and no one laughed anymore. Elna was born here, but Elna was different. She was tall, too tall. Her skin was soft, not tough like others. Her hands were wide, her body fuller, her eyes too round. People whispered, "She's not built for Saran. She can't survive here." Even the system marked her as a failed body, unfit for breeding, unfit for labor. Her mother had died when she was small. Her stepfather, Marx, was a bitter, drunk man who worked fixing old mining bots. He never looked at Elna with love. To him, she was just another problem to feed. One night, when the wind was loud and the dust choked the vents, Marx came home with black lines under his eyes. He sat across from Elna and stared at her. She was sewing her only jacket. Her fingers moved slowly, carefully, as if trying to fix her life. Not just her clothes. "You eat too much," he said. Dadala didn't answer. She had heard this many times. "You don't work. You don't breed. You don't earn." She kept stitching. Mark stood up and opened a small metal case. Inside was a black glass bottle, the kind no one could afford, filled with thick, glowing liquid. Elna stared at it. "Where did you get that?" He smiled, the kind of smile that makes your skin feel cold. "I traded," he said. She didn't ask what, because deep inside she already knew. That night they came for her. A silent black hover truck waited outside. Two figures stepped out, not in uniforms, not in colony suits. They didn't speak. One of them scanned Ileo's wrist. The screen glowed red, then turned green. Marx didn't say goodbye. He just took a long drink from the black bottle and closed the door. Elna didn't cry. The inside of the truck was cold. She sat alone. There were no windows, only a soft hum. She looked at her hands. They were shaking. But her face was calm. She had always known this day would come. The truck flew. For hours, or maybe minutes, time felt strange. When it finally stopped, a large silver gate opened. Two metal doors slid apart, revealing a white room, bright and clean, like nothing she had ever seen on Saran. A tall figure stood in the center, wrapped in metal from head to toe. No face, no voice. Just silence. Elna stepped forward. The door behind her closed. She turned. No handle, no way out. The figure pointed toward a glass platform. Elna stepped on it. Lights blinked. Something scanned her from head to toe. A voice came from above, soft, machine-like, but human enough to understand. Subject: Elna, rejected by Colony Saran 9. Body status: too wide, too full, too soft. Label: unfit. She felt her chest tighten, but she didn't move. The machine voice continued. Genetic deviation detected. The lights changed color from blue to red. The figure stepped forward. Elna flinched, but it didn't hurt her. It touched her shoulder. Then something strange happened. The room changed. The white walls turned transparent. And behind them, Elna saw others, girls, boys, tall, thin, broken, scarred. All of them different. All of them watching her. None of them spoke. The voice returned. You are not here to die. You are here to begin. Begin what? Elna didn't ask. She only looked at the faces around her. They all had the same question in their eyes. Why us? Then the voice said one more thing. You were not made for their world. But you may be. Perfect for ours. The lights dimmed. Elna was led down a tunnel, smooth, glowing, too clean to be human-made. At the end of the tunnel, a door opened. Inside was a bed, food, water, and a screen. Her name was written, under it, a message. Watch closely. Your real life starts now. Elna sat down slowly. Her fingers still shook. She had been sold like an object, but something deep inside her whispered, this was not the end. It was something else. Something bigger. Maybe the beginning of a war, or maybe the beginning of her. Asterisk. The air smelled like nothing. Not metal, not dust, not sweat, just nothing. Elna opened her eyes. She was floating, not standing, not lying, floating, as if the world had forgotten to pull her down. The walls around her glowed soft white. No corners, no doors, no sound, only her breath. Was she dead? Her arms moved slowly. She reached out to touch the wall. It rippled like water, then turned solid again. Cold, smooth, alien. Suddenly, a soft tone echoed in the space. Not music, not a voice, more like a thought pushed into her ears. You are awake, she turned, but no one was there. Then it appeared. From the wall, a figure stepped out, not walking, not gliding, just appearing. It wore a full-body suit of dark chrome. No eyes, no mouth, no skin, just a blank mirror where a face should be. Elna's heart raced. Her feet touched the floor now. Gravity returned. Who are you? She asked. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it lifted one arm. A small disc in its hand began to spin, faster and faster, until images filled the room like a dream. She saw her own face, younger, bruised, sitting in a mining tunnel. She saw her mother's grave, marked with a number, not a name. She saw Marx, drunk, trading her to a machine with silver fingers. Then the image stopped, and the room turned dark. You were not sold, a voice finally spoke, but not from the figure. It came from inside her head. You were selected. Elna backed away. Selected for what? But there was no answer. The wall behind her melted open. This time, she saw a corridor, but not a metal one like on Saren. It was alive. The floor felt like skin. The ceiling pulsed with soft light, and the air smelled sweet, like old flowers. She stepped forward slowly. As she walked, she noticed things. Eyes, tiny ones, blinked from the wall. She looked up. Screens, all showing people. Some crying, some screaming, some just staring. Then her screen appeared. Subject, Elena. Status, intake complete. Use, unknown. Beneath it, one word. Reviewing. Ella shivered. Reviewing for what? She heard footsteps behind her. Not loud, not rushed. Just heavy. She turned. Another figure appeared. This one not in armor, but in a smooth black coat, face half covered, voice flat and dry. Do you know what your body can do? He asked. Allah didn't reply. Your shape, your skin, your softness. They said you were weak, but softness absorbs energy. Your body is a rare type. It's designed to survive things others can't. She stared at him. Designed by who? He smiled, not kind, not cruel, just empty. That's what we're here to find out. Behind him, a child cried. Elna looked past his shoulder, saw a small room with glass walls. Inside it, a girl no older than 10 was curled up, whispering to herself. Elna moved toward her, but the man stopped her. She's not ready, you are. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the corridor. Low, vibrating pulses. The man tilted his head. Time to begin. The floor shifted. Beneath Elna, the surface became soft, then hard, then vanished. She dropped. Not far, just a few feet. But when she landed, she was no longer in a corridor. She was in a forest, a huge one. Trees taller than towers. Leaves glowing blue, air thick and damp. No sky, only a silver ceiling above, pretending to be stars. Elna looked around. She wasn't alone. 6 other people stood nearby, all confused, all marked with glowing ID tags. And far away, in the fog, something moved, not human, not kind. One girl whispered, "They're testing us again." Elna turned toward the sound, and then she saw it. A massive, faceless creature, part machine, part insect, crawling toward them on silent legs. No one moved but Elna. She stepped forward. And the forest whispered her name. The ground breathed beneath her feet. Elna stood still, watching the strange silver trees move without wind. Their leaves shimmered like mirrors. Somewhere deep in the glowing forest, the creature moved again, slow, heavy, calculating. But this time, Elna didn't run. The others did. 6 strangers scattered in different directions. One tripped. One screamed. One disappeared into the fog. But Elna stood. The machine creature stopped too. Its body clicked. Its limbs opened, revealing sharp glass-like tools, not for killing, for cutting. And that's when she understood. This wasn't a hunt. This was a scan. This was part of the test. Suddenly, her ears rang, a whisper, soft, clear, inside her mind. Observe, don't react. She turned her head slowly. A screen floated mid-air beside her, showing data. Heart rate, body pressure, oxygen levels. Hers. Someone was watching. Judging. Grading. Her like a lab animal. The creature moved again, slowly circling her, its legs leaving no footprints. It stopped only inches away from her chest. Its face opened, and from inside, a cold blue light shone on her skin. Her memories flooded in, not in her head, in the air. The scanner was reading her past. She saw her stepfather screaming. Her mother coughing in the dark, the hunger, the silent nights. The weight of being unwanted. All of it on display. One of the watchers gasped from the control chamber. Her pain levels are stable. She's not breaking. Another voice replied, increase the scan, she can take more. Elna clenched her fists. Her knees shook. But she didn't fall. Then suddenly, the forest glitche. Just for a second, the sky turned red. The trees flickered. The ground pulsed like a heartbeat. Elna's eyes widened. This isn't a real place. She wasn't just in a forest. She was in a simulation, a training pod disguised as a dream. And the others didn't know. She turned and ran, not from fear, but with purpose. She needed to find them. Tell them. Wake them up. As she moved, the landscape shifted. Trees turned into glass walls. Fog into fire. The ground under her feet bent like rubber. Her body was slow, but her mind raced ahead. A boy screamed up ahead, one of the 6. Elna found him trapped in a pit, walls closing in like jaws. Don't move, she shouted. He didn't listen. He thrashed, panicked. The more he moved, the faster the pit closed. Elna knelt beside the edge. This place reacts to fear, she whispered. Stop moving. Breathe. Think calm. The boy stared at her. Then slowly, he stopped shaking. The walls froze. She extended her hand. He took it. Together they climbed out. Who are you? He asked. Elna. You figured it out? She nodded. This isn't a forest. It's a filter. It wants to see what's inside us. They both turned. The sound of clicking legs returned. But this time, it wasn't one creature. It was many. 7. 10 more. Coming from every side. The boy stepped back. Elna stood forward. Not prey, not anymore. She reached into her pocket. Found nothing, but her eyes locked on a broken branch nearby. Silver, sharp light. She picked it up. It hummed in her hand like it recognized her grip. The creature's paws. Inside the control room. An alert flashed. Subject Elna. Status shift detected. Passive to active response. Cognitive override level 4. Prediction score off chart 1. Of the watchers whispered, she's not just surviving. She's learning the code. Another replied, she's not supposed to. But Elna didn't care what they expected. She only cared about winning. She turned to the boy beside her. We don't run, she said. He nodded. They faced the swarm, and then The forest exploded into light. Asterisk, the lights didn't come back for a long time. After the forest exploded into white light, Elna felt nothing, no pain, no ground, no weight. She floated in a blank space, warm, quiet, endless. But then, the whispers started, faint at first. Then louder. Her name over and over, from 1,000 different voices. Elna, Elna, Elna. And suddenly, she was standing. Not in the forest, not in the test room, but in her old shelter, on Saren. Same broken chair, same dead air. But something was wrong. On the wall where her stepfather used to hang rusted tools, there were screens, dozens of them, playing videos of her life. Elna as a baby, crying. Elna as a girl, hiding. Elna at 12, bleeding after a fall. Who was watching all this? She turned and saw herself. Another Elna, older, calm, staring. They lied to you, the other Elay said. Elay blinked. What do you mean? The room shimmered. Walls flickered like broken film. Then new images appeared, charts, data. Colony logs. One log glowed bright red. Subject, Elna 017B. Classification, unfit. Reason, non-standard growth. Status, discard. But then another file opened, hidden, locked, but cracking open. Override detected, accessing genetic core. And then a new message appeared, high-density tissue. Neural elasticity, 7x average. Emotional stability, extreme. Status, prime candidate. Label, modified, hide potential. Elna stepped back. They knew? She asked the other. Elna nodded. Yes, they knew you were stronger than the others. That you could survive environments they couldn't. Think in patterns they couldn't predict. Then why label me unfit? The room around them twisted, turned into a dark hallway this time. Real, the dream was over. Elna was awake, lying on a cold floor in a small white cell. But this time, she wasn't alone. A girl sat in the corner, pale skin, bright eyes, a scar over one cheek. You saw the vision, didn't you? The girl asked. Ellie nodded. They let us see it when we passed the first test, the girl said. The system hides our true labels. They don't want us to know what we really are. Elna sat up slowly. Why? The girl smiled sadly. Because this place doesn't find soldiers, it finds weapons. Just then, a door opened. Another one of the metal suit handlers entered. This one spoke out loud. Subject Elna, follow me. She stood. The other girl didn't. Where are you taking me? Elna asked. The handler said nothing. He led her down a long corridor filled with soundless classrooms. Inside, people like her, sitting, waiting, some staring into space. At the end of the hall, the glass turned black. The door opened to a small lab filled with floating screens, body scans, and one man sitting at a long desk. He wasn't in armor. He looked human. Old, calm, hands folded. Elna, he said, without looking up. Do you know what made you special? She didn't reply. He smiled slightly. Your body was never a flaw. It was the blueprint. He tapped a screen. Her scan appeared. Then he showed another, someone else. This is the standard colony born body, he said. Lean, fast, but fragile. Then he tapped hers again. Your body is denser, slower, but it can absorb radiation, impact, psychic waves. You weren't made to work, Ella. You were made to survive. Survive what? She asked. He leaned forward. The thing that's coming. The lights in the room dimmed. A hologram appeared. A planet burning. Not Saren. Not Earth. Somewhere else. We sent colonies to that world. They were erased in minutes. No bodies. No signals. What did that? He paused. Something that eats thought. Something we don't understand. Elna stepped back. The man stood slowly. He looked at her the way someone looks at a blade, not a person. We call it the Nulkin. And you may be the first who can face it without losing your mind. Elna's chest rose and fell, not from fear, from something else. Rage. They had lied, sold her, scanned her, pushed her like a pawn, but inside her, something had survived it all, and now, she was awake, not just in body, but in purpose. The walls were breathing again, not literally, but Elna could feel the soft pulses through her feet as she walked. Like the building itself was alive. She followed the glowing path under her steps, each light fading the moment her foot left it, like memory. After the lab, the man in the black coat had said nothing more. He just pressed a button on his desk. A door had opened. This one didn't lock behind her. That alone was strange. Now, she stood in front of a new chamber. No doors, just a shimmering wall. She raised her hand, and the wall parted like mist. Inside, she froze. There were others. At least 9, some sitting, some pacing, one sleeping on the floor like a child. Each one different, not in appearance, but in energy. You could feel it. They weren't normal. They weren't broken. They were chosen. A boy near the wall looked up. He had dark skin, silver eyes, and long scars running down his arms, like something had carved its name into him. "You're Elna," he said. Not a question, a statement. "How do you know that?" she asked. He smiled. "They show us everything. Every time someone passes the test, we see it." Elna stepped inside. The door behind her disappeared again. The boy pointed to himself. "I'm Cray. Failed 3 colony tests. Passed this one by accident, or maybe not. Why are we here?" she asked. Another voice, soft female, came from the corner. "Because we're not good for their system. But we're perfect for their war." Elna turned. A girl with silver hair and mechanical fingers sat cross-legged on the floor. She was fixing a small glowing orb, like a broken eye. "They call us defective," she said. "But we're what's left when the rules fall apart." Cray walked over to Elna. "You passed fast," he said. "Too fast. That's why they're watching you the most." "They told me I could survive the Nulkin," Elna said slowly. The room went silent. Even the girl with the mechanical hands stopped moving. "You saw it?" Cray asked. "The Nulkin?" "No," Elna answered. "But I saw what it did." Cray sat down on a metal bench. His voice dropped low. "They don't tell most people about it until it's too late. The Nulkin isn't a species. It's a thought that kills." Elna frowned. "How can a thought kill?" "It doesn't break your body," Cray said. "It breaks your mind from the inside. You forget who you are. Then, you stop being." "And you're saying we're resistant to that?" Cray shook his head. "I'm saying you might be." The room suddenly flashed red. No alarm. Just one glowing line across the ceiling. "Round 2 begins. Team trial." Cray stood. "They test us alone first. Then in groups, to see who leads, who obeys, who breaks." The silver-haired girl whispered, "And who survives?" Elna stepped forward. She didn't hesitate. This time, she was ready. They were taken to a massive space, like an underground city filled with black dust and dead machines. The ceiling mimicked a cracked sky. Wind howled. Buildings leaned like skeletons. Each of the 10 rejects stood at different points. "Spread out." A voice echoed from the air. "This is a war zone simulation. Find each other. Avoid exposure. One of you is carrying a tracker. The enemy is hunting it." Before anyone could move, gunfire ripped across the sky. Not real, but it felt real. Cray ducked behind a broken wall. Elna ran through a blown-open truck. Another girl screamed. A drone swept her off the ground and carried her into darkness. Elna pressed her back to a wall. "Think, don't panic. Observe." A flicker, small, in the corner of her eye. She turned. Tiny light blinked under her wrist skin. She was the tracker. The hunted. "They set me up." But instead of fear, something inside her sparked. Not anger. Not despair. Control. She whispered into her come. I'm the tracker. Meet me in the center. We take control of the map. One by one, the others responded. Not all. But enough. Cray was the first to appear. You're not scared? He asked. Allah looked up at the fake sky. Scared is a reaction, she said. I choose response, and then. She smashed the tracker under her boot. The map shut down. The simulation glitched. Someone in the control room stood up in panic. She's not following the test pattern. Another voice answered. No, she's rewriting it. Asterisk somewhere far above the training halls. Beyond steel doors and blinking lights, a cold system woke up. Asset 017B. LE. Status. Active. Phase 3 reached. On a dark screen, numbers began to move. Credits, ranks, languages from 12 different worlds. One word blinked in bold. Bidding open. Elna didn't know yet. She was still catching her breath from the simulation. Her boots were covered in black ash. Her skin burned from a fake sun. But her eyes, sharp, alive, unshaken, scanned every corner of the corridor as the simulation. Doors slid shut behind her. Cray walked beside her. Silent, alert. Something had changed, not just in the test, but in the way the walls looked back. Elna could feel it. Like being watched by something bigger than cameras. Why did the system crash when you broke the tracker? Cray asked. It didn't crash, Elna said quietly. It paused. Paused for what? She stopped walking. She looked up at the nearest wall. Its glass surface flickered, and then it showed her a number. Value, 42 million credits. Her picture was right below it. Elna's voice dropped. They're selling me. They returned her to the white room. Only this time, there was no screen on the wall. No food. No water. Just a single device on the floor. A small cube. Blinking blue. She picked it up. The lights dimmed out suddenly. Her surroundings melted, not physically, but visually. Like her mind was being dragged into a memory not hers. She was now inside a massive space. Silver walls, dark figures seated in rings like a senate. Holograms of young humans hovered above each chair. One of them was her. A digital voice echoed. Next item. Hybrid code type, 017B. Natural pain tolerance. Exceptional emotional suppression. Adaptive immune to stage 1 Nulkin effect. And then, another voice. Deeper, older, greedy. Begin auction at 20 million. Her heart stopped. This wasn't a nightmare. It was recorded proof. They weren't just training her. They were pricing her. Back in her room, Allah dropped the cube. Her hands trembled. Not from fear, but something more dangerous. Clarity. They hadn't rejected her because she was weak. They had classified her and waited. Cray entered moments later. She showed him the cube. His face turned pale. They did this to all of us, he whispered. Some were sold. Some failed the bidding and were removed. Removed? Elna asked. Vaporized, he said flatly. No war, no second chance. Just deleted. Elna stood up. They never planned to let us choose anything, she said. Not even what side we're on. They see us as weapons, Cray replied. Nothing more. Elna turned toward the door. Then it's time we stop being weapons. In the control room above, alarms suddenly blinked red. One of the operators stood. She's overriding her room access. Another one. How is she doing that? That door needs retinal clearance. A new voice, smooth, mechanical, whispered through the system. She is no longer inside the test. She is rewriting. In a quiet hallway, Elna walked forward, not rushing, just breathing. Doors unlocked before she touched them. Systems bent around her like metal drawn to heat. Somewhere deep inside the building, a vault opened. Inside, files. Real files. Metal etched. She found hers. When she picked it up, her hand shook again, not because of what was written on the front, But, because of the signature at the bottom, subject Eleo, property created by Marx, W17, her stepfather hadn't just sold her, he had signed her into creation. The room was silent. Too silent. No humming of machines. No flicker of screens. Even the air felt like it had stopped moving, holding its breath. Elna stood in the center, holding the metal file with her name on it. Her fingers were still. But her mind was not inside her, a storm. Memories moved like knives, not cutting her, but shaping her. The broken meals on Saren, the silence in her stepfather's house, the word unfit stamped across her wrist. The moment she saw her own value blinking on a screen. Property created by Marx VU17. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She decided. Cray found her walking down the North Hall, the one that no trainee was ever supposed to enter. "What are you doing?" he whispered. "Ending it," she said. "Auction?" he asked. She nodded. "The system. The lie, all of it." Cray looked at her, like you look at a storm from far away, knowing it's already too late to stop it. "I'll help you," he said. "No," she replied. "You'll free the others. I'll handle what's above." 10 minutes later, Elna stood before a lift no one had used in decades. She pressed her hand to the lock. It recognized her instantly. "Access, Ilne, 017B clearance, owner linked." Doors opened. And the world above swallowed her. The auction chamber was not a room. It was a city. Massive silver structures floated in place like silent towers. Screens the size of buildings displayed moving numbers. Holograms of assets rotated slowly in midair. Alien bidders. Human officers. Masked elites. Watching, buying, owning. And in the center, a raised black platform with a chair. Her auction had begun. Subject Elon, starting bid. 58 million credits. The announcer's voice echoed across the hall. But something changed. The screen flickered. Instead of bidding numbers, a video began to play. A boy screaming inside a test pod. A girl whispering, "I'm scared to sleep. They scan our dreams." A metal door closing as a drone drags away a child. One line blinked across the screen. "We are not for sale." Gasps filled the chamber. The auction paused. Then the screens cracked, all at once, and she stepped out. Not from the shadows, not from a cell, from the center. From her own auction, wearing the same scarred jacket from Saren. Carrying the file. With her name. No weapon. No army. Just rage, memory, and clarity. "I am not here to run," she said, her voice amplified across the dome. "I am not your soldier. I am not your price tag. I am not your creation." The audience froze. Guards approached. Alna turned to the central AI control core, a large black orb suspended in light. "You scan our bodies. Our minds. You measure fear like numbers." She raised the file. "Then scan this." She threw the file into the orb. It shattered the core. Lights flashed red. Sirens failed to scream. Systems glitched like static. Cray's voice echoed from a "Come, all lower doors are open. We've released every trainee. Every failed bid." The chamber fell into chaos, but Elna stood still. One of the masked bidders tried to run. She stepped in front of him. "You paid to own me?" she asked. He didn't speak. She leaned closer. "I'm not for sale." Then she stepped away, not with anger, but with peace. She had already won. In the corridors below, the halls filled with voices, real, loud, free. Boys and girls once labeled unfit, now walked together, not broken, but rising. Cray stood at the final door. "Elna?" He asked into the come. She responded one last time. "Don't wait for me. Lead them out." This was never about escape. Then what was it? Her voice smiled through the static. It was about being seen, full size. No one saw her again, but stories spread across systems of a girl who was sold and then bought herself back, of A name once buried under shame, that now echoed through colonies like a new flag. Allah, the girl who was too wide, too soft, too full to ever fit in their box. So she broke it.